Okay. With that, I think folks can hear me now. That tells me I actually need to start over. And so I'm going to do that. Apologize. Okay. I had a helpful friend tell me that the audio did not work. And so I'm fairly confident it's actually working now. And so with that, I will pause and make sure this is there now. Okay, great. I am going to start over. So sorry if you're here live. We'll edit that fun part out. In the recording. But yes, I am going to actually start over real quick, just to kind of make sure that we have all of the audio from everything. I'm sorry, hold on one moment. Bear with me, folks. Okay, sorry about that. Nothing like doing things live. As I mentioned, let me go ahead and get started again. We're going to do our AKS community meeting where we go through our roadmap. I'm based out of Colorado in the United States, but we're on a little European tour, visiting some some customers and various locations in Europe. I'm actually in Amsterdam, and so I thought it would be fun to do a roadmap call from here, a little bit more friendly to some of the time zones and so forth. It's been a great trip so far. Um, we've excuse me, we've visited customers and seen a lot of the great work that they're doing with the platform. Really proud of the work of the team that has worked so hard to make AKS what it is, and we really see our customers actually taking advantage of that and being super successful with AKS. So absolutely great to do this. So we'll jump right in and get into our roadmap. Just real quick from an introduction standpoint, my name is Brian Redman. I'm a product manager on our AKS and Cloud Native Platforms team. I've been at Microsoft a long time, and I focus on our customer and community efforts. Really drive this kind of YouTube channel and really hopefully drive awareness of what we're building into the platform within AKS. So our roadmap for the session here, first of all, a little bit of housekeeping, but really we're going to jump into the roadmap update and recent announcements. Really just focus on that. It has been since early May, since the last time we did one of these. So build actually happened since then. So I certainly expect a fair amount of uh, big updates that we'll be talking about here. So um, as far as what is the AKS community, this is our YouTube channel. We put a fair amount of pre-recorded content here. I'll talk about a few of those major updates that have happened on the channel recently. But we also do this live roadmap session here. Live is always a little bit challenging. We saw a little bit of that here today. Little audio trouble, and then I got kicked out of the spot I'm in. But that's how it goes. But we also put together some interesting content on there, just kind of quicker videos that show people how things work, along with our monthly roadmap meetings. We also are continuing our Ask Me Anything session on the Azure subreddit. And so I'll put the link up here on the next slide. But the goal here is to, beyond just the live stream, have an opportunity for you to be able to use a way to actually reach the team and ask questions. Our PMs and engineers are going to be there really all day. Again, we're on a little bit of a shifted time zone here, but we'll chase down the answer to those questions. You can see the link here at aka.ms/AKS/AMA. So we'll be able to take questions there all day and get those answers to you. And we're planning to do this each month. So we hope this will be a really good channel for folks to reach us and have your questions answered. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the roadmap. First of all, the roadmap is out on GitHub, and again, I typically will put together a quick summary slide to kind of the key updates so that you can know kind of what's changed and what's updated. But if you ever really want to know kind of where we are on things, everything is actually out here on GitHub. We focus on things that are kind of planned, in progress, and of course, previews in GA. Um, the items that are here are down to the very specific features. So, we made GA something, such as Fleet Manager and so forth, but then we're always updating and working on additional updates. So you'll see those kind of individual underlying specific features all called out here. And if you actually provide comments, you can reach the team and provide feedback and commentary on all the specific features. But we keep our roadmap fully open out on GitHub. Link there is at the bottom. So as far as recent updates, I'll go through the GA updates first. But I did want to point out something that some folks may be aware of. We put out a pretty significant update for our customers around something we call the Secure Future Initiative. And really what this is focused on is ensuring that our cloud provides the most secure environment possible, and that we realize that we really want to stop what we're doing and make sure that everything is secure, to really provide a platform to really allow our customers to trust everything that we're doing in the platform. And so in some cases, that actually has forced us to pause some things that are on our roadmap that aren't focused on that and really take care of these things first. As you know, with AKS, we actually run a lot of the Microsoft Cloud properties on top of AKS, things like Teams and Office 365 and Xbox related solutions. And so it's really important for us to make sure that the platform is secure for all of our customers and those cloud solutions as well. And so it's a really critical initiative for us, and we hope that it really gives customers that extra level of confidence that this is a place that they can run their solutions in a secure way. So if you're wondering about some dates about certain things that you've been waiting on and so forth, there could be a delay on some of those things. If they're security related, it might actually allow them to happen faster. So you may hear more about the Secure Future Initiative. Feel free to Google that, and you can find the announcements that we made publicly about our plans around that. So as far as the first thing I want to talk about from a GA standpoint, the security patch channel for Linux GA'd. So this allows you to have AKS automatically apply these security patches as they come out to your running nodes, as well as all nodes that will be provisioned after that. The nodes aren't necessarily rebooted or re-imaged. It kind of depends on the type of patch that is there. But this goes through our full testing process. It's the same as kind of doing a node image upgrade. We highly encourage customers to use this and ensure that things are locked down and secure. These still respect the maintenance windows for patching and so forth, so you can ensure they occur at a certain specific time. But this is a great way to make sure that security patches in your environment are applied and that you're secure as well in the AKS clusters that you're using. You see that this is for Linux. We are working on Windows. You'll see that in the roadmap. That's currently in progress for Windows-based AKS nodes. Automated deployments went GA. If you haven't heard about automated deployments, the idea of automated deployments is to focus on the developer and trying to make it easier to go from code all the way into deploying into the AKS in the cloud. In many cases, developers may not want to necessarily learn about all the details of what goes on in a Kubernetes environment. That may be more for platform operators and SREs and so forth. And so automated deployments basically allows the developer to direct automated deployments at the code repository, and it'll actually detect what code is running there. It'll create a Docker file in Kubernetes manifests if they don't exist, so it can actually help folks get started if those things are things that they really haven't done before. It'll also create a PR against that repo for a CI/CD pipeline, a GitHub action, that will go through the process of packaging up that container and importing it into an Azure Container Registry, and then deploying it into the AKS cluster and actually make that a part of that pipeline that will do that process. So it's a great way for someone to get started with the CI/CD pipeline. They can actually edit that pipeline. and use it as the actual deployment process. Or they can take the components out of that pipeline, merge it into something that they're already using, and so forth, and then go through a process of keeping that code up to date. Once we've started updating the application, it'll continue to maintain that life cycle and keep the application up to date in the cloud. This fits real well with really any AKS cluster, and it'll also tie into AKS Automatic, which I'll talk about here in a moment. And we also recently are working on making sure that's tightly integrated with deployment safeguards, which I'll talk about here in a moment. But deployment safeguards is a part of AKS that you can turn on to really make sure that applications are being deployed with best practices. And so we need to ensure that automated deployments and safeguards work well together. And we're working on that as well. We have our Fleet Manager solution that helps you manage multiple AKS clusters in your environment. Fleet Manager has a cluster inventory component. It does upgrade orchestration and so forth, but it can also do intelligent resource placement. And so that particular aspect was GA'd this past month. This is actually something that's fully open source. So this is actually a tool that you can grab and use in your own Kubernetes clusters. But at the moment, inside of Fleet Manager, it's something that we actually manage and host for you as a part of that Fleet Manager, and it can do that placement based on affinity, things like CPU and memory, node count, and so forth, so that you can actually, instead of just submitting applications to particular clusters, you change the dynamic a bit and deploy them to your Fleet Hub cluster, which will then take into account all of those placement considerations that you've applied and deploy the application to the appropriate place. So we're GA or we've GA'd that solution today, but then we're still continuing to advance on that. So we're starting to work on cost-related placement criteria. So we can take a look at all of the cost factors of the compute and all of the different clusters that you have as target clusters, and use that as a component or a decision, hopefully to drive a more optimal cost solution for you. So whether it's placing applications, again, for looking for the appropriate resources, or just an optimization solution, it's a different approach to deploying applications, but we think it'll help customers who have larger numbers of clusters be able to take advantage of those, kind of in the same way that they take advantage of nodes and node pools and so forth in their clusters. So those are the main GAs. When I talk about sort of previews and recent updates, probably the most significant update, certainly in the last month, if not in quite a while, is the release of AKS Automatic. And I actually have a couple slides on this. I'm going to talk about Automatic a bit. So I'll jump past that, but we're definitely going to come back to Automatic, because it is a pretty significant and important release to the platform. We also have a recent preview for our advanced container networking services. You may have heard us talk about the network observability add-on. We had a preview of this in the past, and effectively this is the real iteration of where we ended up taking that technology. Effectively, this uses something we call Retina, and Retina allows us to expose eBPF metrics out of our compute nodes. So whether someone's using Cilium or not Cilium, we can still get all of those same statistics, all the more sort of meaningful network data out of an environment, and expose that. There will actually be more than one model for it. There's a base kind of free tier that will be enabled by default if you're using Managed Prometheus. And then the advanced tier will be something that has a cost associated with it, but exposes a great amount of more very specific pod level detail, L7 related statistics, DNS statistics, and so forth. It will also expose Hubble metrics and Hubble flow logs. A lot of customers really prefer Hubble. We get a lot of demand for Hubble in AKS. And so this effectively is the path to getting Hubble for your AKS environments. You turn this on, you can then install Hubble, and those statistics will then show in those dashboards. So a lot coming there. Pretty excited about what we're doing there. A lot of networking troubleshooting tooling there to help customers really understand and troubleshoot what's going on in the network. Some of the things that don't get as much excitement as things like container networking services or automatic is things like initialization taints. A minor thing, but important to a lot of our customers as they bootstrap nodes. In some cases, customers need to wait a bit before they actually start deploying applications to nodes. And so initialization taints allows them to do just that. So they can ensure that until they're actually ready, they won't actually have workloads placed there that cause some kind of disruption because really, truly the node wasn't actually ready, even though from a Kubernetes standpoint, maybe it was in the ready state. I talked a little bit about deployment safeguards, but just to clarify what it is overall, it's basically a set of curated Azure policies that you can turn on in a cluster, and then ensure that that these safeguards are in place as users are deploying applications. We'll actually apply best practices for them. So let's say they're deploying a deployment and there's no resource requests and limits or health checks or things like that, we can either warn and provide them feedback on what should happen or actually block those deployments from happening. So it uses standard Azure policy by a gatekeeper, but it's a curated set of things that I can turn on and off for a cluster and really hopefully help our users that are maybe perhaps new to the environment make sure that things are done in a proper way, and have those safeguards in place so that we continue to have a more supportable environment. We have started to work on mutations. In some cases, the deployment would just be blocked. In some cases, we can just modify that and still accept it, but add the best practice in place as it ends up being deployed. So you'll see more and more of those kinds of things. Everything can't have a mutation. It may vary depending on the type of safeguard that's in place. Service Connector is something that is a recent preview that we would love to have you try out and give feedback. I mean, this does a few different things. There's a bunch of steps if you imagine as you try to connect one of your applications to an Azure service. There's a large number of steps that go with that around security and networking. You have to create a managed identity. That managed identity needs access to that resource. You need to set up workload identity so that that identity can be used. I need to do things like private link and so forth. And so that's what Service Connector takes care of for me. Now I'm just dropping in a configuration and Service Connector is going and doing all of that work, doing it securely, doing it correctly, and really making it super simple. Just say, hey, I've got this application. Here's the Azure service it needs. And again, these application teams can quickly start to take advantage of those without having to necessarily think through all of those other additional steps that are generally needed. So it'll also put um, set up Key Vault and things like that for services that need it and so forth. So fairly powerful thing. Definitely try it out. We're very interested in feedback on Service Connector. Deleting specific nodes. Again, this is something that really isn't coming up on a regular basis. However, there are those cases where maybe troubleshooting is occurring and a particular node needs to be deleted to figure out what's going on. There's also examples where folks want to do chaos testing, want to delete very particular nodes to see how their application or how their cluster would react. So instead of unlocking the official resource group, the managed cluster resource group, and deleting nodes, which is generally not a good idea, and we know customers want to be able to lock down that group, this actually allows them to delete a node, but use the AKS API and do it in a more official supported way. So it's definitely a good thing, again, not as commonly used. We're always updating the managed add-ons that we have. So if you're using Kata, we are going to be adding version 1.30 there. This is a question I've actually received in the past, but again, these managed add-ons, we do validate and test these versions and make sure they really do work in a proper way. And so this version will be coming to the platform here very soon. Default seccomp profiles. We encourage customers, if you take a look at our security best practices, to apply seccomp profiles. But there's nothing really there by default in our standard configuration. And so the goal here is to actually have those proper defaults in place to really give people a proper baseline starting point from a seccomp standpoint. And then they can still kind of modify and complement those policies with what applies for them. And so it's a great chance to make customers, again, more secure right out of the box. Also, if you had seen Image Cleaner only had worked on Linux. This is the solution that will go in and delete unused stale images that's sitting around on nodes that perhaps also are insecure. And so it's definitely something that can help keep customers more secure in their environments. So we need to bring that to Windows, and that's something that we're currently working on bringing to the platform. Another item I had meant to add to the slide here as well is that we're working on is network isolated clusters. There was a time where we were calling this air-gapped AKS. But the idea here is that some customers tell us they want to block all external access from their AKS clusters. But unfortunately, AKS does need to pull its base images from the MCR, or the Microsoft Container Registry. And so the network isolated cluster will actually allow for this. It will cache images in a ACR that is private linked into the VNet where the cluster is, and then those images can be retrieved from that ACR, and then there's no need for any external access, and the customer can meet that security demand, and yet the cluster can still run properly in a supported way. So those are the kind of high-level updates of the things that really jumped out in the last month or so. I did, as I mentioned, want to talk about AKS Automatic. I'm not going to go into this in great detail. I'm going to point you to our YouTube series on AKS Automatic, but I did want to talk a little bit about why we built this. If you think about AKS, we always think of kind of these kind of core areas of capabilities that AKS offers to help customers build applications. Obviously, I need to have things around operations, monitoring observability. I need to have things like CI/CD, solutions for reliability and scale and security and so forth. Some customers see this as opportunity for choice and the ability for flexibility as somewhat daunting. Some customers see all the numbers of options that are out there, and they struggle to figure out the right path forward. Even within best practices documentation, in some cases, there's still choices left to be made, and there's pros and cons to those. Maybe they have to read the guide, and it's just troublesome to go from a document to an actually implemented solution. The learning curve is actually fairly high. Even though we spend a lot of time in the platform making things simpler, it still can be daunting for some teams. And so they may have trouble to find those folks that really know how to do it, and onboard folks who can figure out how to get started with Kubernetes and start to take advantage of that platform. And so that's what AKS Automatic was built for. It's production ready by default. We take all those best practices and we implement them for you in the cluster. And so you just say AZ AKS create, give it a name, and say type automatic. And then all the network plugin type of decisions have been pre-made for you. Things like automated upgrades are turned on, inherently turned on. We do expose configuration options for you. So in the case of automatic upgrades, you can specify things like maintenance windows. So you have some level of configuration control, but you can't go in and say, I want to turn this off, or I want to use LTS. The idea is that these things are done for you and done automatically. Also, something like node auto provision, our managed Carpenter solution in AKS, is a built-in default in AKS Automatic. So I don't have to think through what are the proper VM sizes and creating a bunch of node pools and getting auto scaling properly set up. Those that are using Automatic are just going to get the proper nodes deployed on an on-demand basis, because Carpenter will actually apply the right node for that workload or place it where it's already available in the environment. So we kind of take away that concept and really abstract away that kind of compute infrastructure for folks using Automatic. It's also tightly integrated with deployment safeguards and some of the other things that we talked about, like automated deployments. And so again, when customers want to go very quickly from code to a running AKS cluster, they can actually do that starting right from automated deployments. And not only will set up the pipeline for them, but actually deploy an automatic cluster and the application all in one step. And so that's really the goal of this, is to make it super simple to get started, Some customers, that's enough, and they'll actually stay on AKS Automatic. Other customers may say, okay, actually, now that I'm really comfortable with the automatic environment, I actually want to take those essentially those guardrails off and start to tweak some of those parameters and change things. And so it's perfectly acceptable to switch from the automatic mode to the standard mode and start to use AKS just like it is working today. And so we're pretty excited about what this brings to our customers. Hopefully, it brings new customers to AKS that may have been hesitant before. And for those customers that are already there, it may be a great way for them to kind of streamline the process and not necessarily do some of the platforming engineering tasks that they've had to build over time. And so, um, as I mentioned, there is a YouTube series. There's a playlist on this channel. It's kind of funny. I've got the URL to the YouTube channel there. I think we're all watching this right here on YouTube. So just go ahead and click on playlists when this is over and look for the Meet AKS Automatic playlist. These videos are really excellent. They go into a great amount more detail than what I really talked about in the introduction. Paul Yu from our cloud advocacy team recorded this whole series. They're all got demos throughout. Even in the introduction video, he's going to really go in and show you the true differences between what an automatic cluster, how it looks different than a standard cluster, things like security and networking. Those videos are tremendous, and there's a lot of detail in there around how networking works, how security works. Frankly, those videos actually have some great info that really tell you a bit about AKS in general. And so a great series. The videos are all fairly quick. There maybe are a few that are around 15 minutes. Most of them are around 10 minutes. And so it's a pretty small investment of time, and you'll very quickly really understand kind of the full story around what we're doing with AKS Automatic. So again, bring us feedback. Let us know what you think, and let us know if there's any kind of obstacles around what you see there. Where would you give us feedback or ask questions about Automatic? Well, I put this slide up here again. This is where I'll kind of wrap the session today. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware we're doing this again for the day, at least in this particular iteration. We'll run this essentially through the day. Again, I'm in a different time zone, so the team will be catching questions and answering them. And we'll be checking in and making sure all your questions get answered. So definitely take advantage of that. As well, really appreciate everybody sitting and listening in on the roadmap here. Sorry about the live stream issues at the beginning, but that's how it goes when you do things live. So again, thanks for joining. Appreciate everybody having interest in the AKS roadmap, and we will catch you the next time. Thank you.